Thank you for joining me here on the channel as we are going through the Summa Theologia and talking about our journey back to God. And, our end is God, our end is beatitude. And it's very important that if we are going to get back to God, and we've already proved in a different video that God does exist, because I think those 5 proofs are pretty convincing. Now we're going through the attributes of God, because if we want to get to God, then what is God like? What are his attributes? In the last video, we did the attribute of simplicity, and I showed how it was really challenging and very difficult to explain the simplicity of God. And the second attribute that St. Thomas Aquinas talks about in the Summa Theologia for God is in question 4 of the Summa, Prima Pars. He talks about God is perfect. Now, I am going to explain that there are 2 ways of going about God's perfection. You can, on the one hand, talk about God himself and what it means for him to be perfect. And then you could also, and I think the easier route, is go through our own experience in life of perfection and see how it relates to God. Because every single day we have encounters with things that have some degree of perfection in them. Remember, that was one of the proofs for the existence of God, the proof by perfection. So let me first of all give you the explanation of the Summa of how Thomas explains God's perfection. I'm going to warn you, this is kind of complicated, kind of hard to understand, but that's okay, because stick with me, it's going to be easier, all right? So Thomas says, now God is the first principle, not material, remember he has no body, but in the order of efficient cause, which must be most perfect. Okay, there you go, he's perfect. For just as matter as such is merely potential, an agent as such is in the state of actuality. Hence, the first active principle must needs be the most actual, and therefore the most perfect. For a thing is perfect in proportion to its state of actuality, because we call that perfect which lacks nothing of the mode of its perfection. Now that's tough. That I got to admit, that's hard to understand. I think I understand it because I've read it so many times and I've taught the Summa that God has no potentiality. He's actuality. He only acts. He isn't acted upon. He's the first being. He's the first mover. He's the first cause, and therefore he's perfect. Okay, there's no defect in him. There's no moving him. There's no changing him. Right? He's immutable. But there's an easier way to explain this. And that's why I call this, what's the easiest way to explain the perfection of God? And it is through our life experience, okay? You might have gone to the ice cream store today and had the perfect banana split, and it was just so awesome, and it was so good, right? Have you ever said something like that? Or maybe you had the perfect rush, that jump out of the airplane, and man, that was just the coolest thing I've ever done. Or you laid out in the hammock and you had a perfectly relaxing day. How many times in the day do you use the word perfect? Maybe you have a perfect boyfriend or perfect girlfriend or perfect spouse, or you have the perfect person in mind of who you'd like to marry or who you'd like to date, right? We talk like that all the time. The perfect vacation spot, or the perfect sunset or lake, or you get the point, right? We experience perfection often like this little dog or this baby, right? The perfect pet, the perfect child, the perfect baby. And so our lives are just surrounded with perfection. We talk about it all the time, okay? But what we have to do is we have to make that jump and say there's a connection between the perfection that we experience in life and the God who is the cause and really the origin of all these things, okay? Doesn't that sound easier? So Thomas says all created perfections are in God. Hence he is spoken of as universally perfect because he lacks not, says the commentator Peter Lombard, any excellence which may be found in any genus. First, because whatever perfection exists in an effect must be found in the effective cause. Since, therefore, God is the first effective cause of things, the perfection of all things must pre-exist in God in a more eminent way. This is probably the most important way that the Summa has changed my life, because as I go through my life and I experience beautiful babies and pets and relaxation and thrills and hot fudge sundaes, banana splits, and the love of my children and my wife and my mom and my siblings, and going to my favorite destination for a vacation. You can't end there. You have to say, you know what? This is related to God, and this has some degree of perfection, but I have to go back and say the ultimate perfection, the one who created this and made all this possible, is God himself. And so I challenge you, don't experience the perfection of the created world without connecting it to our loving God. All right? And if you understand that connection, because we can't experience God tangibly in this world, we'll never see God, we may experience him in an intellectual or emotional way, but we're not going to see him. But we will see dogs. We will see hammocks. We will see boyfriends and girlfriends and husbands and wives, right? And piers and sunsets. That is a reflection of our good God. All right? I hope this makes sense. And again, this is the best way to live our lives. Not sad or depressed or anxious about what's happening in the world or politics. It's looking around and saying, praise God, because I can experience God by participating in his perfection every single day. All right? We're going to do the next one soon. God bless you. Thank you for watching and sharing and liking and subscribing. God bless you.